Coming up, part 2 of our series on goal setting, and more importantly, goal achieving. There are specific steps, mentally and physically, that will help you achieve your goals. You need to have a clear idea of where you're headed, certainly. But you also need to have a map to get you there. And just like the speed bumps or road construction or detours that you encounter on the road of life, you'll also encounter obstacles, mental and or physical, on your journey to your goals. So we want to be prepared in the best possible way. We want to know how to deal with those obstacles so they don't prevent our progress or limit our success. And that's what this episode is all about. You're going to gain clarity, prep your mind for success, and set the foundation for your clear plan of action. It's all coming up next. Stay with me. Welcome to Shift or Get Off the Pot, the podcast that helps you get out of your head and into action so you can make your dreams your reality. Let's get to it. In our last episode in this series, I gave you an overview of the goal setting process and the key items that you need in order to achieve your goals. I also gave you some of the blocks that may arise that can derail your success. It was an overview of the goal setting process, and hopefully you have downloaded the guide that I gave you in that episode and you started doing the exercises. In this episode, we are going to get very clear on what it is that you want, because without that clarity, you cannot create a clear plan of action that's going to help get you to your goals. It is crucial that you start with a clear vision of what you want to achieve. Clarity provides the foundation for successful goal setting. To help you gain that clarity, and to help you boost your belief in what's possible and get a plan in place to achieve it, we're going to focus on just one goal, but one major goal in the remainder of this series. Because once you do this, then you will have a process in place that you can apply to any goal that you have. So let's start by focusing on the one major life-changing goal that if I asked you, what do you really want out of this lifetime? What would really light you up? What would really make you feel like, wow, I can do anything I put my mind to? What is the one thing that if I gave you a magic wand, you would say, this is exactly what I want? Fill in the blank. What would that be? No filters. Don't hold back. What is that one thing? The reasons why people struggle to gain clarity on what they want is simply because they either have too many ideas bouncing around in their heads of things that they want, but you cannot achieve all things at once. That's just a way for you to self-sabotage, to hold back on what you really do want. And it's not uncommon for us to have a lot of things that we'd like to accomplish, or plenty ideas, maybe plenty ideas for a business venture. A lot of us have that. But when you bounce from one thing to another, you definitely delay the realization of your goals. And usually, all of those ideas, while they may be worthwhile, they can simply be a way to hold you back. So how do you deal with those? Well, it goes back to your why. List them out. Put them all down. Write them out. Get them out of your head. And then rank them in order of importance. Take the ones that can wait for maybe 6 months. 6 months, that's all. That's not that long. Put those aside. In the very first episode, my guest, Linda Sunshine, talked about an idea box. She talked about putting your idea into a box and then just putting it aside on a shelf for maybe 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, and then going back and revisiting it. And only focus on the one idea, the top priority, because you cannot achieve a goal when you have no focus. It's like unfocused sunlight spreading everywhere. It's warm and it feels great and it fills the space. But when you take that sunlight and you focus it more as if with a magnifying glass, that focused light has the power to burn a piece of wood. Focus is important. It's the same thing with your mind. It's so important. Another reason why people have a hard time gaining clarity on what it is that they want is that they don't believe it's possible. And this actually ties into the inability to focus and having too many ideas bouncing around in our minds because it just holds us back. The third reason is that it's never been done before, so that there's no proven model for reference. A fourth reason is that you can get so caught up in what other people think that it holds you back. I did this. I knew for a long time what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to help people go after their dreams and equip them with the tools necessary to accomplish those dreams. I was a sales manager and I was a sales trainer. It's what I did as part of my job. It was to build a company's revenue stream. And to do that, you have to build the people within that company. You build a strong sales team with people who are achieving their sales goals. That equals more sales and that equals more revenue for the company. Well, that was safe under the role of a sales manager and trainer. But taking it outside the company, taking it out on my own and becoming an independent trainer and motivational speaker, I invited criticism. I invited a lot of questions. How are you going to do that? Where are you going to get all your clients? You need a lot of clients to go out on your own. What makes you think that you have the ability to train others and motivate others outside this company? Those were the questions that I not only asked myself, but the questions that were being reflected back to me from others who were supportive of me starting my own business, but they were being reflected back to me because I already had them in my own mind. So I had to get myself very connected to my own vision. It's not easy to start a business mentally. Physically, it's not so difficult, especially in today's world where everything is practically at our fingertips. But it's concerns like these that can pop up in our minds and can take us off course. Even before we even start, before we even go for it. For me, it was starting my business. For you, it could be writing that bestseller or becoming a full-time artist. This is why you have to become your own best cheerleader. You have to be, as my good friend says, you have to be prayed up. Meaning, you have to spend time focusing on your goal every day to shut out the noise, to shut out the disbelief. This is the reason why we use vision boards, because they help keep your mind focused on the direction you're headed, not the problems you're facing or the fear that bubbles up. And it will bubble up simply because you're human. That's okay. Acknowledge it. Then say thanks, but fear, you're not helpful. So I choose to focus on the steps I can take, not on the fear that just weighs me down and pulls me back and serves no purpose. To help gain the clarity, which is what this episode is focusing on, you're going to want to take a few steps. The first one is that you want to define what you want in specific terms and write it down. So, for example, instead of saying, I want to get fit, be more specific and say, I intend to run a marathon within the next year. instead of, I want to be a millionaire. Get specific. I intend to become a millionaire by my 30th birthday. Clarity gives your goals direction and purpose, and you cannot create the plan of action that's going to help you achieve your goal without clearly defining that goal. Next, you want to write it down in detail. I talked about this in the last episode. Writing your goals down is important because it forces you to crystallize what exactly you hope to accomplish. It's a simple act that has a way of making your goals stick in your mind, getting your brain working on the details of making it happen. And part of that reason is simply because the act of writing engages another sense. And anytime you employ more than one sense, you solidify the information, taking it deeper into your subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So this very act of writing your goals and adding another sense to the process of goal imaging, it impresses the goal upon your subconscious mind, giving you a far greater chance of achieving your goal than if you were to just merely think about it. But it doesn't stop there. Repetition is key. So you want to place your goal where you're going to see it daily. This could be a vision board. It could be a note you carry in your wallet. It could be something that's on a Post-it note taped to your bathroom mirror. It could be on your computer's home screen. Got to get creative with this and find the areas that you look at each and every day and place your goal in those areas. You can actually create subliminal advertising for yourself to help you embed your goal deeper into your subconscious and influence your behavior that your goal is possible to achieve and the behavior that is going to take you towards achieving your goal. Subliminal advertising is when external forces put thoughts into your brain through visual and auditory cues, and sometimes sensory cues. Your conscious brain cannot perceive these cues. They slip beyond your perception and influence your behavior. Years ago, advertisers used to use subliminal advertising at movie theaters. In between trailers at the beginning of a movie, they would flash these images of a Coke or popcorn on the screen, but it was in a nanosecond of a flash. The image would appear on the screen and your conscious mind didn't really see it, but it implanted the desire for a Coke or popcorn into your mind, so you would get up and go and buy some. Well, eventually it was taken away. I think it was considered illegal and they had to do away with it. But it's not unlike the aroma of fresh baked goods you smell when you walk into a Costco. Have you ever walked into a Costco and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I suddenly have this craving for cinnamon rolls. Even if you don't even like cinnamon rolls, all of a sudden you are hit with that bakery smell and it smells so good. And it is there because it's causing you to walk through the entire store to the very back where the bakery is so that you have to see everything that you could purchase along the way. It's subliminal. Hotels do the same thing. Have you ever walked into a nice hotel and you smell like, oh, the fresh breeze of the ocean? Or maybe it smells like a warm, inviting, woodsy cabin. It's impressing this image into your subconscious. It could be a visual, auditory, or sensory cue. And you want to do the same thing for yourself. You can write your goal on a Post-it note and put it in places that you'd least expect almost to see it. Places that you see every day, like you open up the refrigerator, but you wouldn't expect to see your goal there, and here it is in your refrigerator. Maybe you put it in your shoes. Maybe you put it in your shower. You could create a playlist that every time you hear it, it connects you deeper to your goal so that you want to take action on it? Is there a scent that you associate with money, with feeling more abundant? Take that scent and spray it on your journal, spray it on the Post-it notes, spray it in your home, because each of these methods act as triggers for your mind to stay focused on the goal, not on the challenges. There are a lot of techniques that you can use as triggers for your goal. In fact, I will do an episode. I can do an entire episode on these techniques and detail them out for you and explain just why they work, because there are so many of them that are very effective. And let's face it, some tools work better for some people than others do. So I will break these down and I'll get into the details of them in an upcoming episode. Get creative with it. Get creative with these mental triggers or cues, because you're going to be surprised at how much they help you. The next step is to set a deadline for achieving your goal. Deadlines are crucial to achieving goals because they help create a sense of urgency. They help you prioritize and they keep you accountable. And all of these reasons combined help keep you motivated and committed to achieving that goal. If it's a large goal, break it down into smaller parts. I'm going to take you through that process in the next episode so that you have your clear plan of action and you know just what to focus on each and every day. You have to chunk your goals down. I like to work in 90-day increments, and then I break those down into monthly, weekly, and then daily actionable steps. But you can't do that until you are clear on your goal and you understand why that goal is important to you. In order to take productive action and to move forward, you need to understand what you want and why. I touched on this in the last episode. What's motivating you? Why is this goal important and why now? What are you wanting to gain from this goal? If you've ever spent time around kids, you've probably heard them ask that question, why, a gazillion times. Kids always do this. They're naturally curious. They want to know the reason behind the what. Even from a young age, we seem to know intuitively that the motive behind an action is the most important piece of any story. So the same thing applies when we become adults and as we're trying to set our goals and achieve our goals. So take the time to get connected to your why behind your goal. You have to have that motivation. And after you've done this, then you're going to want to list out the actions that you have to take to achieve your goal. If it's starting a business, what's the first step? Do you need to get certain credentials in place? Do you need to set up your business entity? Do you need to set up a business bank account and start setting aside money to start that business? How much? Get specific with it. Do you have a business plan, a map of sorts that's going to show you how you plan on getting to where you want to be? Creating a business plan for your own self, even if you're not starting a business, but in a sense, creating this map, a plan for your own self, that helps your mind begin to focus on the steps that you need to take, which then gives you further clarity on your goals. And it helps you then to start creating the plan of action. So you want to make a list of everything that you'll have to do to achieve this goal. Next, you are going to identify any beliefs, any obstacles that may pop up for you. And they will, because we're creatures of habit. And when we start to embark on a new journey, our minds may come up with reasons why we can't do it or why it's going to be tough. But when you pay attention to those thoughts that bubble up and you ask yourself questions about them, you diffuse their energy. If you just try to ignore them, they're not going to go away. They're not going to disappear. They're going to keep popping up, and they're going to keep derailing your success or prolonging it. It's kind of like an ant problem. Have you ever had an ant problem in your house and they just keep marching in one by one by one? I woke up the other morning and I walked out into the kitchen and there were all these tiny little sugar ants on my counter, and I thought, they're not leaving. They weren't going to go anywhere until I dealt with them. They just kept marching in, one by one by one. Well, it's the same thing with those pesky little thoughts. You have to deal with them, and you do that by addressing them first and then diffuse them by asking questions. Why have I not achieved this goal already? What is holding me back? What am I feeling about this goal? This is where your why is going to become so important, because it's going to give you some key indicators as to what's really important for you about this goal, and then what could be holding you back from a practical perspective and a mental one. When you identify the thought or the limiting belief that's holding you back, and you'll know it because it's the one that's going to carry the most emotion with it. You'll feel it. Well, when you do that, then you can focus on getting rid of it. You have to deal with it. You can't just push it aside. We all have beliefs that dictate our behavior, beliefs that could be holding us back. So you want to pay attention to those things that keep popping up for you, mentally or physically, even the things that are seemingly outside of your control. Patterns are a good indicator of your level of belief in your ability to achieve your goals. I touched on this in the last episode. If you find yourself making excuses, procrastinating, or getting caught up in planning or perfection, and you're just doing all this busy work, or maybe you keep hitting the same, for me, it was hitting the same financial set point month after month after month. You have to take a look at that, because there's a strong chance that there's a limiting belief there, but it's fixable. Awareness is going to be key here, because it allows you to make the changes necessary to reprogram your mind for success and move forward. That's so important. You can't create that plan unless you deal with these things first, and you won't take action and stay committed to that plan unless you deal with these things first. Finally, you want to do at least one thing every day that moves you towards your most important goal. Now, I realize that we have not created the clear plan of action yet. That's okay. You want to start taking the daily action of spending time connecting to your goal and solidifying it in your subconscious. We're programming your mind here to achieve the goal, to set you up for success. So get clear, write out your goal, set up those mental cues for yourself, set up those triggers, give yourself the visual, auditory, or sensory cues for your goals, your own form of subliminal advertising. This not only deepens your belief that the goal is achievable, but it creates clarity, and clarity builds momentum. Momentum propels you forward. It encourages consistency, and it simplifies decision making, because when you're on a roll, you don't waste mental energy debating every little step. You just follow the flow, which reduces stress and it enhances your productivity. Manifestations, goal achievement, come from our state of mind. And the quickest way to manifest something is to assume the feeling of the goal already realized. And gratitude is the key that enables us to experience our goals as if they are already our reality. This is why the triggers are important. This is why those cues are so important, because you can only create from the present moment, because now is the only time that exists. There's no guarantee of a future, and the past is gone. So now is the only time that exists. which is why we use these cues so that our mind is accepting the goal as something that is already here and now. I know that sounds counterintuitive because you want something that's not in your current reality. But gratitude is the thing that bridges this gap between our present state of being and that which we desire, because it allows us to step into the emotional energy required to create. And when you shift your energy from chasing your goals as if they are outside of you to knowing and being grateful that they are already a part of your current reality, you will bring them to fruition. You have to have a plan of action. Absolutely. Yes, you do. And you have to take the practical, physical steps. Absolutely. But everything is created twice. First in the mental realm and then in the physical realm. As Jim Rohn said, just as the architect cannot build the house unless the thought of what that house will look like is seen in mind first, your goals cannot be realized until you envision them mentally first. Gratitude unlocks the mental vision because it prevents you from having conflicting emotions. The grateful heart cannot be the fearful heart. Your desire to achieve a particular goal has within it the very seeds to bring it to life. And applying these steps consistently provide the nourishment that's necessary to thrive. You've got this. You can do this. You are capable of far more than you probably realize. So, if you haven't already done so, grab that goal setting guide. It's linked down below. Download it, print it out, and use it. Use it now, before we get busy with the holidays, before the new year starts. You want to get yourself in a position now to make next year your year. Your year, the year you show up for yourself. I will link that guide down below. And in the next episode, we are going to get into the details of creating your practical, physical, clear plan of action so that you can stay on track and on task to achieving your goals. Grab that guide, it's down below, and I will be back with you again in a few days. Thanks so much for joining me here today. If you want some help achieving your goals, you can grab the Success Bundle linked down below or head over to my website, kimkelleythompson.com, where I have several free resources to help you. If you like what you've heard today, please consider hitting that subscribe button and join me throughout the week for episodes that will help you make your dreams your reality. I'll be back again soon with another edition of Shift or Get Off the Pot.